Greetings. Today's talk focuses on, other than Carvel ice cream that's right here and was quite enjoyable, today we focus on Elon Musk's confirmation that Tesla was in a near-death experience. The second thing we focus on today is a review of the fact that a lot of people don't know this, but Tesla just announced supercharger 3, but Tesla also has had superchargers 3, 4, and 5 available right away. So I just wanted to, we're going to follow through with these as our primary stories today. And then finally, I want to remind you, please like and subscribe. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. We also are on Patreon, could use your support there. We have ads about every 6 minutes or so. Would appreciate your support by just watching the first 10 seconds and then getting out of the ads if you choose to. But all these methods are a way to support the channel, and we wouldn't exist without it. So thank you for those of you who are already members, etc. I wanted to note that today I'm actually at Carvel Ice Cream. This weekend I had to get a chance to go to New York, which is kind of where Carvel started. It didn't happen for me to get a taste. Love Carvel because I grew up on it. I learned that the guy who founded Carvel, Tom Carvel, had an ice cream truck and would drive around, and one day the truck broke down and people swarmed his truck when it was in one position versus driving around, hence Carvel being nationwide in the US and I think perhaps global. Getting on to our Tesla discussion, I wanted to note that Elon Musk came out and confirmed on CNBC that Tesla was in a near-death situation. And I thought this was really an interesting admission. Elon tends to admit things after the fact. So another example of this is that he had pointed out that the Tesla production system that he had set up, or they had set up with the Model 3, had a goal of actually defeating the the lean manufacturing techniques of Toyota, and it didn't work out, so they had to rip it out. And it turns out there were activities like this that basically put the company in jeopardy, and Elon Musk confirmed as much. Another element of this is the fact that Tesla's bonds actually fell down into, I want to call, headed for a bankruptcy zone. So there's almost a correlation between the stock price of Tesla being between 250 and 270, suggesting they're going to default on their bonds that are soon to be coming forward, to now we're in a price range of 340 to 350, implies that the company's now making money and putting away cash to actually prepare for all of its bond obligations, and hopefully the stock price pushes well beyond, so that we can see prosperity and not just barely staying alive. The other thing to note about his admission is the fact that Elon has a lot of really good ideas that he's now taking apart to facilitate Tesla's ability to actually earn money. And I think the one of those elements of a change that he has made is the change to no longer free supercharging or limiting how much is offered each year. The other thing that I found interesting is that, at the end of the day, there's going to be a need to change up how the dealer network works, because as we all know, there's a lot of problems with servicing vehicles and Tesla not stocking enough parts. And it would be helpful to have $500 million of parts around the world waiting on customers, and Tesla doesn't have the money for that. And one of the ways to provide that is even if it was on a limited basis, having some kind of dealer network to help support the company's forward progress. Also, as a tail end here on the service discussion, I wanted to note that I have a friend that started working at Tesla, and we're doing some inquiries to determine, some things about the company that might help our viewers in their ownership process. In particular, it was mentioned to me by one of our sort of board members that he lost his back window he lost his back window, as both the small one and a larger window, as somebody broke in and stole a laptop from the back of the car. What he also shared was that the local body shop in Berkeley, California mentioned to him that the glass that needed replaced, there was a possibility that he could go to the factory and pick that glass up and bring it back to the body shop so they could put it in. I wanted to mention this to you guys as something that we heard about and that you might want to think about if you have repair issues going on for the car. It's possible for us to have one of our folks near the factory go pick it up and drop it in the FedEx mail or something to you as a way to expedite some of the parts challenges that we've discussed. And in subsequent shows, we'll give you an update on the answer to this question, because it might be a way to help expedite repairs that are currently taking forever. The next, another footnote for those of you out there who are owners, particularly those of you who are having repair issues. Now, on to our next topic for today, which is that Elon Musk announced that supercharger version 3 would be available soon. And it's our suggestion that not only is supercharger version 3 available, but supercharger version 4 and possibly 5 is available as well. Why do we say that? Well, if you think about it, the photo that we're going to include in our thumbnail today includes the fact that the new Semi is operating with at least 3 battery packs for the 300-mile range vehicle. You'll notice when those packs are being charged, instead of just having one hookup to the supercharger, they're actually 3 extension cords all at the same time that allow the truck to actually charge in parallel. So all of those battery packs are being charged at the same time. Now, this is a very interesting outcome, because one has to ask the question, why is it that Tesla is now deciding to introduce version 3 and possibly, if you will, versions 4 and 5 of the versions of the supercharger? I think the answer to that is that in terms of the units of charging on supercharger that we currently have in version 2, it's 150 kilowatt hours that can be powered into the car. As you know, you get 80% of your charge in a half hour. When it comes to the semi-truck, Tesla is doing that triple charging, same amount of half-hour charging time, but you're now charging up a larger truck in that same time period. Now, this is a very interesting outcome, because guess what this implies? It implies that Tesla is actually able to, in theory, have, let's say, a battery pack for a car sort of bifurcated down the middle between 2 charging ports, so that the vehicle could in theory, could operate as 2 batteries when it needs to. After being fully charged, you could simply unplug, and that charge would transfer from battery or battery side of a battery pack to the other battery pack as it needs to. And so therefore, what I think this implies is that Tesla is actually preparing for the onslaught of competing solutions to battery. One is the fact that VW, Audi, and their Porsche division is about to come up with a 350 kilowatt hour charging rate, which would give them superior charging time to Tesla's products. And so if you're able to provide, if you will, supercharger version 3, in theory would be double the speed of version 2, that would easily address that. What's interesting to me is, because of what we've seen the truck do, in theory, you could basically have 3 battery packs there, that would now enable the vehicle to, meet that 15-minute charging time frame, but across 1 battery with maybe 3 ports in it. So another thing that's beneficial about Tesla introducing this possibility is that right now what everyone's waiting for is, we're about to go to a new standard of batteries, and that new standard allows you to charge perhaps 3 times as fast. And Tesla doesn't have to meet that sort of charging speed, but at least being 15 minutes versus a 5 or 7 minute charge for the new competing technologies will make Tesla competitive. the other element of the new batteries suggests that there's actually going to be faster charging and a lower cost of battery based on the construct of the new batteries. And I just think this walks Tesla down the road of being prepared for dealing with the competitive threat as it arrives over time. So I think that it's great that Tesla is preparing for this standard. I think that unlike other things, in theory, you could simply have a car pull up and consume 2 supercharger ports at the same time, and it could be considered version 3. And then obviously the more ports you use, the faster the charge would occur. So I just think that this opens up some really nice possibilities about where things are going, and Tesla doesn't have to build any new facilities to be able to move up to the version 3 speed. The one fly in the ointment of what I'm describing is the fact that, guess what? The port to handle those higher charging rates is currently not built into current vehicles. So the answer you're going to ask is, or question you're going to ask is, how does this work with current vehicles? And the answer is, obviously, it's not going to work because there's only one port there. But, you know, the technical challenge of delivering this is going to be easier with newer vehicles, but clearly it would be a problem with older vehicles over time. So it might be an incentive for those who want faster charging to actually go ahead and upgrade, if you will. So in general, you know, the only other thing that I wanted to cover for this show, and we have some more coming up in our subsequent shows on this, is that we're actually moving into, we typically try to every 2 weeks move in and discuss kind of what's going on with the semi-truck and new developments. Our focus this week in that show will be on the fact that Albertsons has announced that it's moving in to purchase 10 trucks so it can get in line once semi-production begins towards the end of the year. So our focus of our next show will be the Albertson purchase, along with what the implications are for companies that choose not to move on to the Tesla Semi platform going forward. I'll also, so that's our next show, focused exclusively on trucks, especially on the Semi, and the Albertsons order being sort of a further confirmation of sort of what's going on in that space. At any rate, I noticed, you know, obviously I saw all of you, including Donovan, etc., saying hello. Wanted to thank all of you for reaching out. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Wanted to mention to you that at the end of our shows, we typically encourage you to get your workouts on. I've just went in and picked up some weights here. They're a 2-pound pack of 2-pound reflective walking weights. I'm setting them up so we can do the 20 leg lifts per leg with a 5-pound weight on there is part of the whole exercise routine. Hey Steve, thanks for the hello. I wanted to note also, I saw the mention there of CNBC having a nice image of what's going on inside the Gigafactory. Yeah, it was a nice view of seeing you know, battery and battery making materials being moved around on an automated basis. They definitely kept it focused on a limited amount of the factory. So I guess you could discern that there's work going on, but you couldn't really see a whole bunch there during that show. I am impressed by Elon Musk's effort to maintain civility when it comes to dealing with CNBC and company, because these folks typically have been very negative on Tesla, especially when you look at the whole Bob Lutz situation. The final thing I wanted to, Robin, thank you for the comment there. Much appreciated. You know, the final thing I wanted to note to you guys is that please remember no meals within 2 hours of crashing out, to make sure it gets properly digested, as well as, you know, try the sleep research method of going to bed at the same times. Excellent question there regarding, Donovan asked about GM closing factories and whether or not Tesla would be taking over any of those. I just wanted to note that they're actually, Elon Musk is really 2 or 3 different people. What I mean by that is that he is the person who is a very rational businessman and is on top of his game. And when he is in that mode, purchasing GM empty factories or other factories or even a whole company to support what he's doing totally makes sense. There's another Elon Musk that's bound and determined to have nothing to do with domestic manufacturers in any way. He tends to want to partner with with folks like Toyota or folks in Germany, etc., but seems reluctant to do any kind of partnership agreements with U.S. manufacturers. It seems to me there might be some animosity based on some of the things that have been said by executives from those firms, etc. So part of his goal, it seems, is to bury those companies that were unfriendly as he was trying to get the company started. So that's my general assessment of that. At any rate, didn't want to elongate our time without without having a good reason to do so. Donovan, I see you're over there in Europe. Please let us know what you're seeing in terms of production or order numbers from, if any of that's popping up. I know there's a lot of European orders that are going to be taken, and it would be fun to see if we can track that. One of the things I'd like to ask all of you about is how we might create a repository of things to be aware of if you're a Model 3 owner, or an owner of an X or an S. I say this because I just did an interview with a gentleman who is a month into the ownership of his Model 3. He informed me that he pulled into his garage, put the charger in, and in about 5 minutes, it announced that it was charged, and it seemed strange. He got out on the road, and the car wasn't working wasn't charged as it had been stated, and he got a service visit at his home where they determined that there was a magnet in the door of the charging area that wasn't working properly, and when it was swapped out, all the charging issues disappeared. And what I'm thinking about is that as I meet new folks, there are different people that have had different issues. Another example was the interview we did at the supercharger station here in Washington, D.C., where the new Model 3 owner informed that his frunk, or the trunk on the front of the car, on occasion would stick and would take, a couple of pushes before it actually would open up. So the question is, should we be collecting all of these issues with alarms inside the car, et cetera, so that new owners have a defined area they can go to sort of catch up on information that might make them better owners. So, at any rate, I think that it gives a feel. Just to note, we will be back tomorrow with our next show focused on trucks. We definitely look forward to your presence there if you get an opportunity. At any rate, this is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight, about to do my 20 leg lifts per leg. Just finished enjoying my Carvel ice cream. Was excelente for those of you who get a chance. They do a great job. I'm just going to give them a little pub here because it's a childhood favorite. I maybe have some Carvel once a year, once every other year. Always good, but it's nice to, taste a great flavor of ice cream. Any rate, wanted to say thank you again for joining us. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Tschüss, German, au revoir, French, lehitrot, Hebrew, Choda Hafez, Farsi, farvel, Dutch. In Jamaica, we say, "Enough respect, walk good man." And that's for you, brother Donovan, as well. Hope you guys have a great day. Look forward to our next encounter, and glad to know that Tesla's no longer in the bankruptcy-headed realm and is heading upward in its pricing. Wow, thanks for the suggestion on the drive with the weight on your leg. Okay, I don't know if I want to affect my ability to keep the car on the road properly, but thanks for the tip, Donovan. Any rate, have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us. Remember to like, subscribe. We could use support on Patreon if you would. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Have a great day.